She stood frozen at the doorway, hands shaking, breath trapped in her throat, watching the impossible unfold. A billionaire's daughter, frail as paper, gasped for air in her crib, while the woman sworn to protect her stood calmly by, eyes cold, almost waiting. Moments earlier, the new maid had seen something she was never meant to witness. A hidden vial, a strange white powder, a whispered phone call promising that the child wouldn't survive much longer. Now, with her heart pounding and her phone recording every second, she realized the truth. Someone inside that mansion wanted the baby dead. When Maya accepted the job, she thought it would change her life, just not like this. 2 weeks earlier, she stood outside the iron gates of the Cortez mansion, clutching her worn-out backpack, praying this opportunity would finally help her rebuild everything she had lost. She'd been fired from her last job over a lie, had barely enough money for bus fare, and her landlord was one warning away from throwing her out. So when the agency offered her a position as a maid in the home of billionaire Rafael Cortez, she didn't hesitate. She needed this, desperately. But the moment the heavy front doors opened, she sensed something was wrong. The mansion was elegant, quiet, too quiet. Not a peaceful silence, but a suffocating one, as if the entire house held its breath. And there, at the top of the grand staircase, stood Helena, the head nurse. Tall, composed, flawless, and cold. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You must be the new maid," she said, voice clipped. "We have rules here. You clean the house, do not disturb Mr. Cortez, and under no circumstances do you enter the baby's room. Is that clear?" Maya nodded, confused. "Of course. But if the baby needs..." "She won't. I take care of everything." Helena cut in sharply. "Just follow the rules." That was her first warning sign. The second came hours later. While wiping the marble shells in the upstairs hallway, Maya heard something, soft coughing, then a choked, desperate whimper. It pierced straight through her chest. She froze, then followed the sound to a partially open door. Inside, the billionaire's daughter, a tiny 6-month-old named Aria, lay in a white crib surrounded by medical equipment. Her lips were pale, her breath shallow, her small chest rising in painful, irregular gasps. And Helena? She just stood there, staring, unblinking, unmoving, watching the baby struggle. Maya's stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed at her to step inside, to help, to do something, but Helena's warning echoed in her mind like a threat. She backed away slowly, heart pounding. The image of the gasping infant burned into her memory. Something terrible was happening in that house, and Maya feared she had just stepped into the middle of it. That night, Maya barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the baby's tiny lips turning pale, her chest trembling as though each breath might be her last. By morning, Maya had convinced herself she was overthinking, until she entered the kitchen and found Rosa, the elderly cook, quietly chopping vegetables with trembling hands. "Bom dia, Rosa," Maya greeted softly. Rosa forced a smile, but it faltered. "First day was hard, huh?" Maya hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Rosa, the baby. Aria, she's very sick, isn't she?" The cook froze. Her eyes shifted toward the hallway, as if afraid someone might be listening. "Desde que nasu," she whispered. "Poor little thing struggles to breathe every day. Doctors come and go, but no one finds anything. Some say asthma, others say allergies, nothing helps." "And Helena?" Maya asked cautiously. A shadow crossed Rosa's face. She leaned in closer. Helena arrived as the nurse, and suddenly became everything. The lady of the house. The one in charge. Even Mr. Cortez barely enters the baby's room now. Too painful for him, poor man. Maya felt that same heaviness from the day before settle in her chest. "Rosa, does Helena ever act strange?" Rosa's knife stopped midair. "Strange." She swallowed hard. "One time I heard the baby crying so hard, choking. I ran upstairs and found Helena sitting by the crib on her phone. The bottle had fallen. The baby was starving. When I tried to pick it up, Helena snatched it from my hand. She said only she was allowed to touch anything." Maya's skin crawled. Before she could respond, Quiet footsteps echoed from the staircase. Mr. Rafael Cortez walked into the kitchen, a tall man in his late 30s, handsome but utterly drained. His eyes were hollow, as though he hadn't slept in months. He grabbed a coffee without speaking and left just as silently. Rosa sighed. "Il est souffre d'aimer," she murmured. "He's dying inside." Losing his wife was hard, but watching his daughter fade is breaking him. Maya watched him disappear down the hall, her heart tightening. Something was deeply wrong in this house, and if no one else was willing to see it, she realized she might be the only one who ever would. By the third day, Maya's nerves were stretched thin. Every cough, every faint whimper drifting from the baby's room made her chest tighten. She tried to focus on cleaning, but her ears stayed alert, waiting, listening, ready to run if Aria's breathing turned ragged again. Late that evening, after Rosa left and the mansion fell into its usual eerie silence, Maya stayed behind to finish ironing the last stack of clothes. It was almost 10 p.m. when she finally headed toward the stairs. She had just placed her hand on the railing when she heard it. A cough, sharp, wet, desperate. Then another. Then a strangled cry. Maya froze. It wasn't the usual soft coughing she'd heard before. This was different, louder, more painful, like the baby was fighting for air. She climbed the stairs slowly, her pulse thundering in her ears. As she reached the dim hallway, she noticed a thin strip of light leaking from Aria's door. It was half open. Maya stepped closer, each movement careful, silent. Inside, Helena stood with her back turned, hunched over the dresser. Maya squinted. The nurse opened a drawer, pulled out a small, unlabeled glass vial, and tapped a white powder into a baby bottle. Maya's breath caught. No, she wasn't imagining it. Helena shook the bottle, mixing it with practiced ease, then brought her phone to her ear. "Relax," she whispered coldly. "Everything's going exactly as planned. A few more weeks, and the baby won't make it. Raphael is already signing anything I put in front of him." Maya's hand flew to her mouth to stop a gasp. Her mind raced. Powder. A secret call. A dying baby. Helena's obsession with controlling everything. It all fit horribly. With shaking hands, Maya pulled out her phone and hit record. She captured Helena sealing the vial, sliding it back into the drawer, and picking up the bottle with a soft, sweet voice, so different from the venom she'd spoken seconds before. "Come, Aria, ora de mamer, meu amor." Maya's stomach twisted as Helena approached the crib. She had to keep filming. She had to get proof. She leaned forward, heart pounding. Then footsteps echoed from the hallway. Helena was leaving the room. Panicked, Maya darted behind a column as Helena's shadow passed dangerously close. Only when she heard the woman head downstairs did Maya breathe again. She looked at her phone screen. The video was dark, shaky, but it was something. And now she knew, without a doubt, Aria wasn't sick. Someone was hurting her on purpose. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat in her tiny room, replaying the video again and again, her hands trembling each time she heard Helena's whisper, "A baby that won't survive." But one thought kept stabbing her harder than the rest. The video wasn't enough. You couldn't see Helena adding the powder clearly. You couldn't hear the call perfectly. Raphael could deny it. Helena could twist it. And if Maya confronted anyone without solid proof, she already knew how this story would end. She would be the one thrown out, accused, destroyed. Just like before. No, she needed more. Something undeniable. The next day, Maya studied Helena's routine. She noticed that every afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., Helena locked herself in her room for a long shower. 20 minutes, sometimes more. It was the only time the baby's room was left unguarded. That was her chance. At 2:59 p.m., Maya positioned herself at the bottom of the staircase, pretending to dust a glass cabinet. Right on time, Helena passed her without a glance and disappeared into her room. The sound of running water followed seconds later. Maya's pulse hammered. Go, now. She sprinted upstairs, tiptoed into the baby's room, and froze at the doorway. Aria was sleeping, peaceful for once. Her tiny chest rising softly, her fists curled near her face. Maya felt a painful warmth in her chest. I'm going to save you, she whispered silently. She moved to the dresser and spotted the freshly prepared bottle sitting there, ready for Aria's next feeding. Her hand shook as she opened a small, empty container she'd hidden in her pocket. She unscrewed the bottle lid, sniffed the milk. Nothing unusual, but she knew the danger wasn't in the smell. She poured a small amount into the container, just as Arya stirred. The baby opened her eyes, exhausted, confused, and then, unbelievably, she smiled. A weak, trembling little smile. She reached out her tiny hand. Maya felt her throat tighten painfully. She held Arya's tiny fingers for a moment, tears burning behind her eyes. I promise, she whispered. I won't let anything happen to you. The shower upstairs stopped. Maya's heart dropped. She quickly sealed the sample, put the bottle back exactly as it was, and slipped out just as Helena's footsteps echoed down the hall. She had the evidence. Now, she just needed to survive long enough to use it. Maya knew she was running out of time. She had the video. She had the milk sample. But Helena was too smart, too careful, too deeply rooted inside the Cortez mansion. If Maya made one wrong move, Helena wouldn't just fire her. She would destroy her, just like she was destroying that child. So Maya acted fast. That evening, while Helena prepared dinner downstairs, Maya slipped out the back gate and hurried to the nearest clinic. The doctor on duty, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, listened carefully as she explained she needed a quick toxicology test. He raised a brow at the urgency, but didn't ask questions. He tested the small milk sample, his expression growing increasingly grave as he read the results. This milk contains a respiratory depressant, he said, a very dangerous one. A baby, especially one so young, would struggle to breathe after consuming this. It could be fatal. Maya felt sick. Hearing it confirmed by a professional made everything horrifyingly real. Doctor, could you write that in a report? Please. Someone's life depends on it. He hesitated only for a moment before nodding. I will. Bring this to the authorities immediately. But Maya couldn't, not yet. If she went straight to the police without Raphael knowing the truth, Helena would twist everything. Raphael trusted Helena blindly. He was emotionally shattered, vulnerable, drowning in guilt from losing his wife. He saw Helena as the only person keeping his child alive. Telling him she was the one killing Arya? He wouldn't believe it, not without seeing it with his own eyes. So Maya planned everything. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, she waited in the hallway until Raphael returned from his late meeting. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes hollow. Sir, Maya whispered, stepping forward. I need you to see something. Please. It's about your daughter. Raphael almost brushed past her, but something in Maya's trembling voice made him pause. What is it? Maya handed him her phone, the video of Helena mixing the powder and speaking on the phone. Raphael watched silently, his face draining of color. Then she placed the toxicology report in his hand. For a long time, he didn't speak. Then his voice broke. Meudeus, what have I done? I let her. I trusted her with my baby. Tears welled in his eyes, raw, devastated. Take me to Arya. Now. They rushed upstairs. The moment they pushed open the baby's door, they caught Helena leaning over the crib with the bottle in her hand. The same bottle Maya had sampled earlier. Helena froze. Her eyes widened as she saw Raphael, and the hatred behind them flickered only for a second before her face smoothed into a practiced smile. Raphael, thank God you're here, she said sweetly. Arya needs her medication. She's having trouble breathing again. Stop, Raphael thundered, his voice shaking with fury. Helena blinked. Raphael, what's wrong? You tried to kill my daughter, he whispered, his voice breaking. You poisoned her. You, his hands trembled violently. You monster. Helena's mask shattered. You idiot, she spat. Everything I did was for us. Once the baby was gone, you would finally see me. You would finally need me. Raphael backed away in disgust. Maya hit the emergency call button on the wall. Security stormed in within seconds. Helena fought, screamed, clawed, but it didn't matter. They dragged her away as she shrieked Raphael's name in a voice twisted with madness. Raphael raced to Arya's crib, gently lifting her into his arms. She whimpered softly, but for the first time, her breathing wasn't labored. She nestled against his chest. He broke down. Maya stood quietly in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Raphael looked up at her with gratitude so deep it hurt. "You saved her," he whispered. "You saved my little girl. I owe you everything." For the first time since she entered that house, Maya felt hope, not just for Arya, but for herself. The nightmare had ended, and a new life, for all of them, was finally beginning.